Joining us now, Ann Coulter, very noted, famous conservative writer, author, commentator on TV, Fox News all the time, back from the Cornell days where she started the Cornell Review not that long ago because she's still kind of a spring chicken type. She has a new book out, Resistance is Futile, How the Trump-Hating Left Lost Their Collective Mind. And Ann, great to have you with us again.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And great event last night that Breitbart put on. That place was packed. There must have been 300 people there. Great job last evening. You're so gracious. I was able to buy 2 of your books last evening, so I'm kind of fired up. Thanks for signing them. So let's get to your book.
I hope you started them.
I did last evening, obviously. Now, Ann, why is this book different? Resistance is Futile. Give us some of the headlines here.
Well, there are a lot of them. I don't think our side has really been making the right arguments on a lot of points. They don't have the luxury I do of not having a job and being able to spend months on Nexus and seeing what lying hypocrites the left is and how crazy they've become. But, I mean, just for the Michael Cohen thing, for example, and Manafort, both of whom I write about in the book, briefly, amusingly, don't worry, it's not boring. But, man, campaign finance violation, they've spent 2 years and that's all they have. There are a lot of problems with the campaign finance laws, as has been written about endlessly. The crucial point is it has to be proved that to prove that this was a campaign expense, that this is something that was done exclusively for the campaign, that the candidate would not have spent money on this, but for the fact that he was running for office. So, for example, John Edwards having billionaire donors support his baby mama, Rielle Hunter, as he was running for president to hide her and his love child from the public. Even that prosecution was ridiculed and he was immediately acquitted. But is there any possibility that Bunny Mellon is still paying to support Rielle Hunter? I don't think so. That was something clearly undertaken for the campaign. In the case of Trump, you know, he's a rich man. He gets a lot of nuisance suits. Obviously, it was Michael Cohen's job to deal with the nuisance suits. How about his settlement of the Trump University case? Why isn't that a donation to his campaign? Because it would have looked really bad while he's campaigning if that lawsuit goes on. Can he settle any case? If he hires a new florist at Mar-a-Lago, because if somebody walks in and the flowers are wilting, who could vote for that kind of person as president? He needs really spiffy-looking Mar-a-Lago. Is that a campaign expense? And, of course, he can spend whatever he wants on his own campaign. But the real crux of the matter is this something that Trump would not have cared? Oh, no, I don't care if Ivanka finds out. I don't care that, my name is all over, my buildings and resorts. I can look like a total sleazeball. That won't hurt my business or my personal life at all. So it's a loser charge. Even if true, the end result is, oh my gosh, he'd have to pay a fine. Obama paid nearly $500,000 in fines for campaign finance violations. We didn't hear any talk of impeachment for that. It's just every single day is Trump's worst day. This is it. The noose is tightening. Ooh, and then you get the little fish, and they'll flip and tell you something. Well, yeah, only if there's something to flip on. And again, I think more interestingly than many of the detailed responses, my summary of what's going on with the Russia nonsense, I think, is very clear.
Let's get to that, Ann Coulter, and I think you just nailed this. And I was saying earlier today, the Mueller investigation hasn't showed anybody a shred of evidence, not one crumb, about any wrongdoing by then-candidate Trump as it directly related to Russian collusion, his campaign. I mean, like you say, all they have after all this time and all this money and unlimited resources is all they've got is a potential campaign finance law violation, maybe already been discredited in the Edwards campaign, as you said, with Rielle Hunter in that situation. So my question is, where are they going with this? I mean, they have nothing, unlimited resources, all this time. They have absolutely not a crumb of evidence. Where are they going with this?
It ought to terrify people. As I say in the chapter, Robert Mueller is the Russian agent. If you're looking for a Soviet import, look no farther than the Office of the Special Counsel. He has unlimited resources, really no oversight to speak of, no one to say, although some judges have already tried to say, wait a second, this has nothing to do with your commission. But the commission that Rod Rosenstein wrote is just, look at the universe, anything you have. He may as well, the letter commissioning a special counsel may as well have said, this Trump guy looks kind of sleazy. Why don't you take a look at him and everyone around him? Because that's what they're doing. And anyone in America, this is not the rule of law where you wait for a crime to be committed and investigate it. This is investigating specific people, and they're being investigated because they are associated with Trump. I cite in the book a book you may have heard of or follow. I don't know if it's associated with the book, but there's a Twitter page, Crime a Day. Harvey Silverglade has written a book a while back called 3 Felonies a Day. And his argument is that the average law-abiding person mows his lawn, pays his taxes, could be inadvertently committing 3 felonies a day. There are so many federal felonies, we don't know how many there are. One time the Department of Justice tried to count them all up and gave up in frustration. More are added every year. I list a few in my book. And if you have very talented and very determined left-wing prosecutors with an unlimited checking account looking at you, really, you're going to find something on anyone. To go to Manafort, I'm not a tax lawyer. I don't know the details of the case, but I do know it is legal to make money outside of the United States. It's certainly legal and quite common. These campaign consultants, you don't hear about the rest of them. Lanny Davis himself has represented all sorts of dictators. This is what campaign consultants like James Carville and the left, that's what they do to make money. They do the American campaigns for status and to get on TV. And then they go to, Ulo Joby or something, defend dictators who will come up before the UN a few years later to make lots and lots of money. If you make money outside of the United States, so, if it sounds sleazy to you, half of Washington would be in prison if that were a problem. If you make money outside the United States, the law is constantly changing. I do know that. But if you keep it outside of the United States, there are ways you can avoid paying taxes. Who pioneered this? Who is the champion of this? George Soros. And he's worth, about 20 times what Manafort is worth. So if we're really going to go after these offshore banking accounts and tax avoidance schemes, how about Mueller turn to George Soros next? There are a lot bigger culprits. The reason he is zeroed in on, and look, for all I know, Manafort has done something wrong. I'm not saying simply because he worked for Trump that he shouldn't be criminally investigated and prosecuted. I don't know. But the only reason he is being prosecuted isn't because he hasn't done something lots of other people haven't done. It's because he was associated with Trump.
And Coulter, you are so right. We're with Ann Coulter. She's come out with a new book. This is a must-read for you. It's called Resistance is Futile, How the Trump-Hating Left Lost Their Collective Mind. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at your favorite bookstore, or you can go to Ann's website, AnnCoulter.com, AnnCoulter.com. And Ann with us for a few minutes here on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth, live from Washington, D.C. And let me just ask you this question. Somebody asked me this, I think it was Chris Cuomo on CNN last week, and I just want to get your reaction to this question. They said, look, I just got to ask you this. With the economy going so great and all these jobs you keep getting on TV and touting and all this things happening, why is there such hatred for President Trump? Let me ask you that question.
It's really just, that's chapter 1. It's not about his policies. The pussy hat wearing resistance couldn't name Trump's policies. It's aesthetic. They find him icky. And to give dignity to their hissy fit, they just can't believe he won the election. To give dignity to their hissy fit, they come up with these demented conspiracy theories about Russia. They claim it's an existential crisis for the country. No, they just find him gauche and embarrassing, and particularly replacing Obama, whom they absolutely loved. It's like having Fred Astaire as your president and then getting Rodney Dangerfield. They're just appalled, disgusted at this with the gold fixtures is in the White House. I'm not saying I'm wild about the fixtures either, but can we think about the country? No, they've lost their minds over this. It's a closed system. They won't allow anyone on their networks or in their newsrooms to make the alternative argument, and so they just get wilder and wilder in their conspiracy theories, which is why it's a lot of fun to go on Nexus and see how they will change their positions not only from last year to this year, not only week to week, but day to day. Their position is, their entire political philosophy is, where's Trump on this? Oh, that's awful.
Unbelievable. And two questions. I know we're running a little bit short on time here as we go forward. With these allegations coming out now with Michael Cohen, and of course 6 of the 8 have nothing to do with the candidate Trump, President Trump, Mr. Trump, businessman Trump. They have nothing to do with them, 6 of the 8, and the other 2 on the campaign violations, as you pointed out, it's very dubious. So let me just ask you, right now, 76 days out, 75 days out, can the Republicans hold the House?
Yes, I mean, it would have been a lot easier if Trump had kept his promises, built the wall, not talked about giving dreamers amnesty, really pushed through a renegotiation of NAFTA, pulled the troops home from Afghanistan, all promises I would say, the 3 pillars of his campaign, instead of just adopting the Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan agenda. But I guess the best shot is for him to go around and give his rally speeches, re-promising the things he promised during the campaign. I think there will be a few cynical voters, but that's a good shot. And of course, the resistance is helping. The crazier they get, the more people just want to say, vote against the media by voting for the Republican. But brace yourselves, because historically, the party in power loses seats, and if Republicans lose the House of Representatives, that's the end of any hope of enacting any part of Trump's agenda. Really wish he had started with immigration instead of tax cuts, which Jeb ! Would have done. And he will certainly be impeached. It doesn't matter. It could be a campaign finance reform. It could be for a hangnail. They will just work themselves into it and hysteria. If they have 1 vote, they'll impeach him. Doesn't mean he'll be removed. Depends if we hold the Senate, and the Senate numbers are quite good, as I'm sure your listeners know.
Yeah, I think we're going to gain seats in the U.S. Senate. I mean, I think we're going to gain 5, whether we lose the House or not. The numbers there. And Coulter, very good. We're with Ann Coulter. Only have a couple more minutes. She has a new book out, must buy, must read. I just bought 2 of them. Signed one for my lovely wife, Ann, of 30 years. Ann with an E, though. Ann with an E is my wife. Resistance is Futile, How the Trump-Hating Left Lost Their Collective Mind. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at your favorite bookstore. Or you can go to Ann's site, AnnCoulter.com. How easy is that? And final question I've got, we'll wrap it up. So all this money, all these resources, Robert Mueller, unlimited amount of time and money to spend. As of now, my assessment is he has not presented a single piece of evidence that has anything to do with Russian collusion or anything else. When do you see him finalizing this and sending his document to the Hill?
He'll probably be like Lawrence Walsh and do it soon before the election. The history of independent counsels is that they're usually used as battering rams against Republican presidents. The only independent counsel who ever caught a president committing felonies in the Oval Office was, of course, Ken Starr with Bill Clinton. The rest of the time, you'll remember, what was his name? Patrick Fitzgerald comes in from Chicago to investigate who leaked Valerie Plane's name. Well, 30 seconds after being sworn in, he discovered, oh, it's not a crime to leak her name. There was no crime to investigate. But instead of resigning, going back to Chicago, he stuck around, put a lot of people under oath, and then when Scooter Libby's recollection differed from Time Magazine's Matt Cooper's recollection of a conversation, charged Scooter Libby with perjury. That's the typical history. Oh, by the way, he's now the lawyer for James Comey. That's the typical history of independent counsels. They're just battering rams against Republicans. As I point out in the book, a president has full authority to fire any of his any political appointees. He has the authority to tell the FBI or the Department of Justice to devote resources to a new investigation or to drop an investigation. I don't think Trump should do that. I think he's probably doing just as well keeping Mueller out there and keeping his base and his side annoyed at how political and unfair this is.
And final question, in your judgment, should President Trump fire Attorney General Jeff Sessions?
Jeff Sessions is the only member of the administration attempting to keep Trump's promises. So, no. I think we'd be better off if Sessions could fire Trump.
Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us. I really enjoy your perspective. It was great to see you last night. Great turnout. You must have been really excited for that, and you were very gracious to all of us at your book signing event led by Breitbart last evening. Ann, thank you so much. It's always an honor to have you on with us here on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Go to AnnCoulter.com, AnnCoulter.com. Buy your book. Buy your book. I tell you what, you got to buy it. It's going to be a fun read. I read some of it last evening because, I got to get up at 3:30, so I didn't read but the first chapter. But it's a really good piece of work. Ann Coulter, Resistance is Futile, How the Trump-Hating Left Lost Their Collective Mind. You can get it on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or go to AnnCoulter.com. Ann, thank you so much for being with us. I really always enjoy our conversations, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.